All right, I'm still talking about the 1539 campaign and its impact on Gay Soda, Leatherwood here, and how basically that's affected every other territory as well, simply because of the intention of that conquest. I mean, the intention of the conquest in 1539 by the Spanish, it was under the rule of a Borgia that you would better know as Pope Alexander. And of course, the Vatican drafted and passed the doctrine of discovery. Now, see, there are still archaeological sites that pertain to this very specific conquest. And I have broken it down to this territory where I'm at now. And I not only go over that, but I'll be going through manifest destiny and removal, how that impacted here, and also the archaeological evidence for that, as well as, maybe some personal accounts of people that went through here and terrorized the indigenous population. But this conquest of 1539 here on Anawarakawa, Turtle Island, now America, was commissioned to DeSoto. Now, DeSoto picked his army from the prisons, the streets, and, pretty much the most desperate of people. And these were murderers, rapists, and thieves, liars, and it's all been historically noted. Um, this campaign's intent was to disrupt, the indigenous control over the resources and trade, attack all major villages and strongholds, also razing the villages, the monuments, the sacred grounds, looting the burials, destroying, the organically grown, culturally stockpiled rations of food, destroyed that and stole it when he needed it. Um, it even destroyed the fields, slash and burn, destroyed all the living quarters, the long houses, the houses, I mean, everything. He also slaughtered and butchered the people. He slaughtered all the leaders and all the faith the, the, the faith keepers, all the people that would carry on tradition, the elders even, indiscriminately. Um, there's just so much that happened. I mean, he butchered the people to feed his dogs. He butchered them, just chopped them up to feed his animals. These were indigenous leaders, warriors, elders, all faith keepers. They were massacred, maimed, slaved. But survivors of that initial attack here, were used as beasts of burden. And these were the people he would use to help him go to the next village, which was northwest of here. And he would use them until he couldn't use them anymore. Then he would either kill them where they were at, or he would maim them and release them, and they'd have to find their way back. And, based on the archaeology here, there were scattered pockets of the people that made it back here and survived and continued on living here and carrying on what was left of any tradition they could, retain from this conquest. And again, its intent was to disrupt the indigenous stronghold on this continent. And it affected every territory on this continent. This was the heartland. This is where, you know, our history was kept safe, sacred. Um, and that's the first wave through this territory that I've historically found documented, and took the time to do some research on it. And what you're looking at, pretty much been looking at the whole time, is a map I created with the help of other maps, but a lot of research on my part, because a lot of that, it's all mounds, and it's all old mounds up to when the mounds stopped being made. And pretty much the mounds stopped being made because this conquest pretty much destroyed the people that carried that tradition, as well as they were looting the burials and destroying the burial grounds. And I mean, from this point on, anytime that tradition would try to be passed on, it was snuffed out by whoever was a foreign faction in that or on that territory. They would either do the same thing, loot the burials, take all the valuable stuff, and desecrate or whatever. But that's a running theme between 1539 to pretty much today. There's still a lot of indigenous issues today that are related to this very conquest, because a lot of this is still not answered for. And I'll be going over that in later videos when I start talking about the removal periods and, the manifest destiny period. And, right now I'm focused on the impact now of what happened here. That destroyed the governance. It destroyed all the major outposts along the river. It left people nomadic, lost. It took away the cultural attachments to each other and the land. I mean, the Haudenosaunee, which are the people that were targeted during this conquest, were scattered right here where I'm at. And I've traced it back to this, and I've come up with enough evidence to prove it. And like I said, I'll be doing a series of these videos. The next, I can't say for sure what it's going to be, but it's probably going to deal with the French and the British involvement here, because that would be the next phase. Because after DeSoto went through here and he cleared out, they never colonized right here. But the British and the French, well, actually the French first would set up a fort up at Paducah. But I'll get into that later, and we'll get into the whole imperial wars, because this is what triggered the imperial wars with the British, French, Spanish, the Dutch. And Dutch, whether you know it or not, are Vikings. The Swedes, yes. And they've been here way, way longer than Columbus even discovered. They integrated with our people, and there's archaeological evidence to back that as well. But that, again, will be another episode. Later. And I'm still putting together a video. Alright, basically I wanted to go over this map right here. Now this is a map I created. What I did is I was going through states looking for mounds. And these are all the mounds I found in all these states. And then I went and juxtaposed it to the chronicles of DeSoto. Beedma, Wrangell, all them guys, and there's more too. But I took what was written about them and their trajectory of where they were. For instance, the biggest battle they said was 35 degrees in 10 minutes. That puts them right here. But I also have another photo I put in this video that is map of a proposed route that DeSoto's army took, and it's wrong, it's inaccurate, it's not based on any archaeological data. And probably someone who didn't really read the transcripts from the chroniclers. But I mean, it was something that campaign doesn't get credit for. Is he toppled this entire economy, this entire culture. That one campaign alone. I mean, he destroyed the villages, literally destroyed them, dismantled, burned them down, tore them apart. He destroyed the burial grounds physically, literally. Not to mention the death, the people he killed, 200 to 3,000, or no, 300 to 2,000 each village he was at, he would kill and displace. And then he spread STDs and smallpox. You know, he was destroying longhouses, homesteads, fields. That was his intent, and his impact is still seen today. I mean, it was terrible. But I just wanted to go over that because that was something I didn't mention about that I had created that map, and then I read the chronicles and I followed his path, and I found what I found, you know. Again, this site I'm at is overlapped with, you know, different periods in time. And I'm not talking cultural periods that are status quo, you know, Paleo, Archaic, Woodland, Mississippian, historic, blah, 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 modern. No. I'm looking at it from another point of view, as from a perspective of theirs, that they were always here. And then what transpired, you know, they were hunter-gatherers, finally became sedentary and agricultural villages, whole system operation, trade, you know, family traded with family among other territories. The whole idea and concept of what is being taught about the Native community is wrong. But again, I'm focusing on this specific area where I'm at because I have done massive amounts of research. I mean, both physical research and research here, you know, on my computer. And of course, my library, I have a lot of books. And it's vast. I even if it's something I don't agree with, I'll read it. Because there's always something you can learn from something else. But then again, you know, this whole conquest intent was to disrupt the indigenous, what am I looking for? The indigenous control of all the trade routes, what was being coming in and going out of the country, and the people that were responsible for that, he exterminated. It's all kind of explained, but never really backed up by any archaeological evidence, because that is out of whack. And that's another reason why I'm doing what I'm doing. But anyway, I digress. Later.